What's going on today, YouTube? Rob here. In today's video, I'm coming at you with a triple structure deck profile. This is the brand new Traptrix deck. Beware of the Traptrix. This is a deck that I'm honestly not familiar with whatsoever. The only thing I really know about the deck is that pretty much all of their monsters are unaffected by whole normal trap cards. Other than that, I'm going into this deck profile pretty blind, as I don't know what most of these cards do. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, consider leaving a like, commenting on what you might want to see next, or in this case, improvements to this deck that could be made. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and without wasting any more of your time, let's get into it.
Alright guys, let's get into this Traptrix deck profile using just the structure decks. This is a deck I honestly don't know too much about, so the ratios are probably off a little bit. But starting things off, we've got the new Traptrix Kudika. This is a field spell searcher on normal summon. So this lets you add your Traptrix Garden from deck to hand. And then if this card is special summoned, you can target a special summon monster your opponent controls and banish it. And then also during the next standby phase, your opponent can special summon one of their banished monsters. But not too bad. This decent to get your field spell as quick as possible. Then we have triple copies of Arachnocampa. This is a special summon if you control a Traptrix monster. And then the first time each set card in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed by a card effect each turn, it's not destroyed. And then again, like I said, during the main phase, if you control a Traptrix monster quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except for insect or plant, which doesn't really apply because all of our extra deck is insect or plant monsters. Now I've got triple copies of Murmelio. This is probably your best card special summoning wise of your main monsters, as this does allow you to pop your opponent's back row, which is fantastic. And it doesn't even have to be a set spell or trap, it can be any spell or trap that your opponent controls. And there's so many ways in this deck to be able to special summon it, which is fantastic. Then we have triple copies of Neptunus. This is able to add or special summon one Traptrix monster from your deck except Neptus, and you can only use it once per turn. And then all of the Traptrix monsters have the effect that they're unaffected by normal traps, or effects of cold traps rather. And then again, if you activate a whole normal trap card except during the damage step, you can add to your hand or special summon a Traptrix monster, which is fantastic. And then because the structure deck gives it to you, triple copies of Ash Blossom. Again, no need to explain Ash. Then we have one copy of Feather Duster for extra back row removal. Triple copies of Raigeki for monster removal. Which again is pretty good, just generic. Then we've got triple copies of the Trap Trip Tune, or Trap Tantalizing Tune rather. This lets you discard a level 4 insect or plant monster and draw 2, which is fantastic. You can banish this card from your graveyard and target one of your banished level 4 insect or plant monsters or normal traps, and then place it on the bottom of the deck. And then you can only use each effect once per turn, which is fantastic. But this is your draw 2, your Pot of Greed for the deck. Then I'm playing triple copies of the Traptrix Garden. Again, you could probably cut this to 2, but for now 3 is fine. Because this lets you during your main phase, you can normal summon one extra Traptrix monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is fine. And then the first time each insect or plant monster is not destroyed, or monster you control would be destroyed rather, by battle each turn it's not destroyed. And then you can banish one monster you control and special summon one Traptrix monster from your hand or graveyard. and then you can only use this effect of Garden once per turn, which is fine, but this really works well in conjunction with your Murmelio. Like I said, there are a lot of ways to get Murmelio on the field, so probably one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion. Then I'm playing triple copies of Floodgate Trap Bowl because this is pretty versatile for the deck, and it lets you, when your opponent summons a monster rather, change that monster to face down defense position, and then monsters change to face down defense position by this effect cannot change their battle position. So this is just really good for a lot of the towers, or just big boss monsters in general. And then I'm playing triple copies of Gravedigger's Trap Hole. When your opponent activates monster effect in their hand or graveyard, or when your opponent's banished monster activates its effect, negate the effect, and if you do, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. Just really good in general. Then I'm playing triple copies of Traptrix, which lets you banish one normal trap and then set the same set a normal trap. So that's fantastic. And then you can activate one trap for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, and you can only activate one trap per turn. But this gets you quicker access to your Holotea, which is probably the best Traptrix trap in the game, or in the deck rather. So you can activate this the turn it was set by discarding a normal trap, and this basically just special summons itself to your side of the field as a normal monster, Plant Earth, level 4, attack 400, defense 2400, and then it's not treated as a trap. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Traptrix monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and you can only use one Holotea effect per turn, and only once that turn. Like I said, just really good way to pump out some of your monsters. And then lastly, for traps and for the main deck, we've got triple copies of Evenly Matched. Again, can't really say anything bad about it. If it's in the deck, you've got to play it at 3. It's just with the structure deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. We've got triple copies of Traptrix Oedipus, which requires 2+ monsters, including an insect or plant monster, and then this unsummon card is unaffected by trap effects. All Traptrix monsters you control gain 1,000 attack, while you have a normal trap in your graveyard. Once per turn, you can target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of insect or plant monsters you control, negate their effects until the end of this turn, then apply this effect. Banish one normal trap from your graveyard, and if you do, destroy one of those face-up cards. Just really good for getting stuff off your opponent's field. Then I'm playing triple copies of Traptrix Sierra, one non-link Traptrix monster, and then this link summon card again is unaffected by traps. You can only use each of the following effects of Sierra once per turn, and not during damage step. If normal trap card is activated, you can special summon one Traptrix monster from your deck with a different name than the cards you control. And if your other Traptrix monster's effect is activated, you can set one whole normal trap directly from the deck, which is fantastic. Not much to really say about that. Then I'm playing, lastly for our link monsters, 2 copies of Polaria, which requires 2 insect and or plant monsters. This link summon card is unaffected by trap effects, and then you can only use each of the following effects of Polaria once per turn. After you activate a whole normal trap card, you can set it instead of sending it to the graveyard, and then during the end phase, you can target one Traptrix monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position. That's it for the link monsters. Next up, I'm playing the brand new Pinguculia at 3. You could probably cut this to 2 and just play Rafflesia at 3, or Allomeris. But this requires 2 level 4 monsters. While this card has material, it's unaffected by trap effects and the activated effects of other monsters with the same type as this card's material. You can only use each of the following effects of Pingu Kulia once per turn. You can detach one material from this card and add one Traptrix monster from your deck to your hand. And if a monster or monsters owned by your opponent is sent to the graveyard or banished by card effect, except during damage step, you can attach one of those monsters to this card as material. So not too bad, pretty decent boss monster. Then we've got double copies of Rafflesia, which is really good, because this is your negate for your extra deck, really. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and then your opponent cannot target Traptrix monsters you control except Rafflesia with card effects. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card and send one whole normal trap that meets the activation conditions from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes that trap card's effect when this card is activated, or when that card is activated. And then we have double copies of Alamaris, which requires 2+ level 4 monsters, is unaffected by trap effects while it has material. You can only use each of the following effects of Alamaris once per turn. You can detach 2 materials from this card, special summon one level 4 insect or plant monster from your graveyard, and then if an opponent's monster leaves the field because of your card effect, and is now in the graveyard or banished, except during the damage step, you can detach one material from this card, then target one of them and special summon it to your field, which is fantastic. That rounds off our extra deck. There are probably some changes you could make to make this a little better. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with this deck, so a lot of these cards are pretty new to me. For the side deck, double copies of Mantis. You should probably play this in your main deck, but for now, I'm using it in my side. Unaffected by the effects of full normal traps. When this card is normal summoned, you can add a Traptrix monster from deck to hand. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one set spell or trap you control, return that target to the hand, then you can set one spell or trap from your hand. Next up, double copies of Retaliating Sea. When your opponent activates a spell that includes an effect that special summons a monster, or monster's quick effect, you can special summon this card and from your hand. And if summoned this way, while this card is face up on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. If this card is sent from field to grave, you can add one Earth Insect monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand, except Retaliating Sea. And then we've got triple copies of the Humongous Sticky String Kaiju and triple copies of Vidarla, just for going second and being able to break your opponent's boards. Their effects don't really matter here. It's just to break boards for the most part. Then we've got triple copies of Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. When a monster that was special summoned this turn activates its effect on your opponent's field, negate the effect, and if you do, destroy that target. This is pretty good. And then lastly, double copies of Bottomless Trap Hole to banish an opponent's monster that was summoned with 1500 or more attack. Not much to say about that. Like I said, there are some changes I'll probably make to the deck if I do continue to actually play the deck. But for now, this is what I've come up with, and I find it does work pretty well. Again.
Alright guys, that's it for this Traptrix deck profile. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, I'm honestly not too familiar with this deck profile, or deck type. But this is what I've come up with, and I find that this does actually work. I did kind of playtest this a little bit on EDO Pro the other night, so I find that this deck does kind of work a little bit. There are changes you could make, and like I said, there are probably some changes that I'll make if I do want to keep playing this deck in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, comment on what you want to see next, and subscribe for more fun Yu-Gi-Oh videos, and I will catch you in the next one. That's game.